the amount the federal government spends on the program. While the Senate parliamentarian has ruled all of that would violate the rules for how you craft a reconciliation bill, President Trump said Friday.
The parliamentarian's been a little difficult, and I would say that I disagree with the parliamentarian on some things.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune said they will not overrule the parliamentarian. Doing so could subject the bill to a 60-vote threshold rather than the simple majority that's needed now. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
The Supreme Court has limited the use of nationwide injunctions in an historic ruling.
The Supreme Court handed down about 6 big decisions yesterday in the last day of their term. One of the biggest, the Supreme Court majority siding with the Trump administration in limiting lower courts from issuing universal injunctions, which can block those executive orders or actions. It was a 6-3 ruling. It went along ideological lines, and it invalidated the lower court injunction that had stopped the Trump administration from enforcing his ban on birthright citizenship. The president telling reporters yesterday the decision, quote, really brings back the Constitution.
Fox's Chanley Painter. The High Court also ruling in favor of parents seeking to opt their children out of public school lessons that could violate their beliefs. Justices ruling that parents can exclude their children from Maryland's public school system's lessons that contain LGBTQ themes. America is listening to Fox News.
I'm Janice Dean. Join me every Sunday as I focus on stories of hope and people who are truly rays of sunshine in their community and across the world.
Listen and follow now at foxnewspodcast.com.
The fighting between Israel and Hamas in Gaza is soon becoming to an end, as Fox's Greg Palcott reports from Tel Aviv.
President Trump is now talking about new talks involving the two sides there, claiming a ceasefire could be achieved in the coming week. The hope is that the memorial...
But some stories are left unfinished.
Somebody knows.
Real cases, real people. Listen and follow now at foxtruecrime.com.
This Tech Check briefing is sponsored by Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Happy Friday, I'm Deirdre Bosa, and this is your CNBC Tech Check briefing. NVIDIA shares, they are rising for a 5th consecutive day Friday, sending the chipmaker towards new highs as investors shrug off China concerns. The rising shares helping the AI chip giant regain its seat as the world's most valuable company with a market cap of $3.8 trillion, moving it ahead of Microsoft and Apple. NVIDIA faced headwinds and concerns over tariffs and export controls earlier this year. CEO Jensen Huang is warning that restrictions could risk missing out on the $50 billion China market. Tesla CEO Elon Musk has fired the automaker's vice president of manufacturing and operations, Omid Afshar. Afshar worked closely with Musk for years before being promoted to the position less than a year ago, where documents viewed by CNBC show he led a team of more than a half dozen high-level employees. The termination comes shortly after the head of Tesla's Optimus robotics program resigned, and it follows significantly declining Tesla sales in key markets like Europe. And Apple has unveiled sweeping new changes to its European App Store policies. It says will help the company avoid a nearly $600 million fine for violating the EU's Digital Markets Act. The new rules are a complicated system of fees and programs for developers, including a 5% fee on all digital purchases made outside the App Store. EU officials say they are examining the rules to see if they're in line with the law. Apple has fiercely defended its App Store policies, one of the iPhone maker's key revenue generators. That's all for today. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you right back here on Monday.
This Tech Check briefing is sponsored by Comcast Business. With leading networking and connectivity, advanced cybersecurity, and expert partnership, Comcast Business helps turn today's enterprises into engines of modern business. Powering the engine of modern business. Powering possibilities.
This is DW News, and these are our top stories. Thousands of protesters in Thailand's capital, Bangkok, are demanding the resignation of Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra. It follows the leak of a phone call in which she criticised her own military commander over a border dispute. The scandal has damaged the fragile ruling coalition, with one party pulling out. Gaza health workers say almost 50 people were killed by Israeli strikes on Friday and Saturday, including one which created a huge crater. Meanwhile, Israeli media reports say the military is investigating possible war crimes following hundreds of deaths near aid distribution sites. Israel's Prime Minister rejected claims that soldiers were ordered to fire into unarmed crowds. Iran has held mass state funerals for the victims of Israeli and US attacks. The coffins of around 60 people were paraded through the capital, Tehran, including top military commanders, nuclear scientists, and their families. Iran says more than 600 people died during the 12-day war, while Iranian attacks on Israel killed 28 people. This is DW News from Berlin. You can find more on our website at dw.com.
This is TechCrunch. This episode is brought to you by Claude AI. Running a business means meetings, and lots of them. I always wear my lucky blue shirt to meetings because it kind of grounds me a little bit. But something else you might find useful is Claude. You see, it's a sleek, smart device that acts as a note-taker for your meetings, and a pretty exceptional one. It's a tiny gadget you can wear or add to your phone as an accessory that records, transcribes, and it even summarizes key points and action items. So you don't have to worry about writing down every detail. Instead, just stay in the moment. And you know, Claude doesn't just take notes either. It understands them. You can ask it anything about your meeting or a related topic and get answers instantly. You can use it to find information across all your files, make insights, or brainstorm new ideas. Let me tell you, it's the perfect sidekick to any workday. Ready to work smarter? Type PLAUD into Google and get a discount with my code TZDaily. That's PLAUD. The United States Supreme Court ruling opens the door to sweeping internet age verification. I'm Imran Sheikh, and your Saturday Daily Crunch starts now. The Danish government is working to change copyright law to give its citizens the right to their own body, facial features, and voice. The landmark law is designed to strengthen protections against the creation and dissemination of deepfakes, reports The Guardian. And Denmark's Department of Culture still needs to submit a proposal to amend current law, but the agency has already secured cross-party support. In the U.S., several states have passed deepfake laws, which are mainly tied to misuse during elections and non-consensual sexually explicit content. Now, many of those laws are currently at risk as Congress weighs up a proposal in a new budget reconciliation bill that would strip states of their power to regulate AI for 10 years. So much for states' rights. A crane collapsed at SpaceX's South Texas rocket facility this week, and the company's newly formed city won't say if anyone was hurt. On June 23rd, a crane being used to clean up debris from the most recent SpaceX rocket explosion collapsed at the company's launch complex. Footage of the accident was captured by Lab Padre, one of the content creators who film and photograph the site on a regular basis. But it was filmed from far away, making it impossible to tell whether anyone was harmed or in danger. SpaceX has now publicly acknowledged the collapse and did not respond to TechCrunch's request for comment. That's not surprising. You see, while the company posts details about spaceflight mishaps, like when its Starship rockets blow up, rapidly disassembled, it is otherwise tight-lipped. But SpaceX's facility is now part of a newly incorporated city called Starbase, Texas, and this accident happened within its borders. The collapse is one of the first tests of whether Starbase City has an appetite and will for transparency while being run by a SpaceX executive and acting as a home for the company and more than 200 of its employees. Good old SCOTUS, the United States Supreme Court, of course, ruled Friday to uphold a Texas law requiring websites with sexual material harmful to minors to verify the ages of all visitors. The Free Speech Coalition, a trade association for the adult industry, had brought the lawsuit against Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, challenging the state's age verification law. Age verification in this context doesn't mean mindlessly clicking a box to declare that you are an adult. It means uploading government ID documents or using third-party verification platforms to prove your age. Now, this decision has far-reaching ramifications for internet privacy. 18 states have already enacted laws requiring requiring age verification to access such websites, while 6 additional states have passed legislation that has not yet taken effect. Under the Texas law that the FSC challenged, a pornographic website is defined as having at least 1/3 of its content deemed harmful to minors. Internet privacy advocates have long criticized these age checks for their potential to compromise users' digital security, even when verification companies vow not to retain identifying information. In some cases, these age checks are conducted via government tools, and it's not abnormal for hackers to breach government databases. At a time when LGBTQ rights are under attack in the U.S., activists have protested that laws like this could be used to classify non-pornographic information about the LGBTQ community, as well as basic sex education, to be sexual material harmful to minors. These concerns appear well-founded, given that Immortan Joe's Meta wins its AI copyright case filed by Sarah Silverman and other authors. We'll talk more about it in moments, but first, as expected, Apple didn't reveal any new hardware during WWDC this year. The event is typically reserved for announcing software and services upgrades, so we're not surprised. That means our recommendations for the best MacBooks remain the M4 MacBook Air for most people, the M4 MacBook Pro for creatives, and the MacBook Air with the M3 chip as an excellent budget option. True, in a lineup consisting of just 2 models, the choice may seem straightforward, but if you're wondering what you get with an Apple laptop or what the difference is between the consumer grade and Pro models, our guide will help. We also break down the specs to consider, like screen size, storage capacity, and Apple's chip configurations, so you can pick the best MacBook for you based on our testing and reviews. Check out our list of the best MacBooks for 2025 at Engadget.com. Federal Judge Vince Chabria has ruled in favor of Meta over the 13 book authors, including Sarah Silverman, who sued the company for training its large language model on their published work without obtaining consent. His court has granted summary judgment to Meta, which means the case didn't reach full trial. Chabria said that Meta didn't violate copyright law after the plaintiffs had failed to show sufficient evidence that the company's use of the author's work would hurt them financially. In his ruling, Chabria admitted that in most cases it is illegal to feed copyright-protected materials into their large language models without getting permission or paying the copyright owners for the right to use their creations. By training generative AI models with copyrighted works, companies are creating something that often will dramatically undermine the market for those works, and thus dramatically undermine the incentive for human beings to create things the old-fashioned way, he wrote. However, the court must decide cases based on the evidence presented by the parties, he said. For this particular case, the plaintiffs argued that Meta's actions cannot be considered fair use. They said that their creations are affected by Meta's use because the company's LLM, Llama, is capable of reproducing small snippets of text from their books. They also said that by using their books for training without consent, Meta had diminished their ability to license their work for LLM training. The judge called both arguments clear losers. Llama is incapable of generating enough text straight from the books to matter, he said, and the authors aren't entitled to the market for licensing their works as AI training data. Chabria wrote that the argument that Meta copied their books to create a product that has the capability to flood the market with similar works, thereby causing market dilution, could have given the plaintiffs the win, but the plaintiffs barely touched the argument and presented no evidence to show how output from Meta's LLM could dilute the market. Despite his ruling, Chabria clarified that his decision is limited. It only affects the 13 authors in the lawsuit and does not stand for the proposition that Meta's use of copyrighted materials to train its language models is lawful. Another judge, William Alsop, who recently sided with Anthropic in a class action lawsuit, also brought by a group of authors who accused the company of using their copyrighted work without permission. Also provided the writers recourse, though, and allowed them to take Anthropic to court for piracy. Thanks for listening to the show. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Today's show featured journalism by Gadget contributor Mariella Moon and was produced by Spoken Lane. I'm Imran Sheikh, and as always, we'll talk more tomorrow.
It's Jen Lehner of jenlehner.com, and this is your Front Row Entrepreneur Flash Briefing for Saturday, June 28th. Google Photos is getting smarter and faster. They're now combining classic filters with Gemini-powered AI search. So when you're hunting for that one dog pic at the lake, you'll get results in real time with smart descriptive categories. It's all about helping you find the right photo instantly. Google just launched Doppel, a brand new app that lets you visualize how an outfit might look on you. Upload your photos, and Doppel generates realistic try-on images based on your body type and style preferences. It's a mix of personalization and generative AI, giving you a better idea before buying. And Meta is now asking for permission to use your phone's camera roll photos to train Meta AI, even the ones